Now that we learned a little bit about hyperlinks, what I'd like to do is spend some time looking at how we can link different pages within our website. In order for us to do that, I'd like you to open up the Files panel. If your Files panel is not open, you can come over to the Window menu, and from there you can choose Files. Inside the Files panel, if you scroll through all the different directories, you'll find one called HTML5 up. And inside that directory is a document called index.html. Go ahead and double-click that to open it. Now, Dreamweaver is not doing the best job of rendering this layout. So you have a couple different options. You can take a look at it within a web browser, or if you're just trying to get a quick preview, you can come over and click the Live button. And remember, Dreamweaver will render this in a WebKit rendering engine right here inside the program. So this is what the website looks like. And you'll notice that we have a navigation system up here towards the top. We have right sidebar, left sidebar, and we also have no sidebar. Well, what happens when you click these buttons is you should be linking to a page that contains a right sidebar or a left sidebar or doesn't have a sidebar. And if we take a look inside this HTML5 directory, we can see that we have left sidebar.html, no sidebar.html, and right sidebar.html. So what we want to do is hyperlink these buttons to point to these files. Now, these really aren't buttons. They're nothing more than text elements styled with CSS to appear as a button. So what we want to do is come back into the design view. So I'm going to turn off the Live button. And again, the rendering looks very different here inside of Dreamweaver. But we have home and drop down. But then down here towards the bottom, we have right sidebar, left sidebar, and no sidebar. If you're wondering why you see all these other links, these links are ultimately going to be hidden within this drop-down menu. So hopefully that makes sense. But if you go ahead and select right sidebar, you'll notice right now that inside the link text field within the properties panel, we have a pound sign. A pound sign is typically used, especially within Dreamweaver, to temporarily create an anchor element. If we come over to the split view so we can see the code, you can see that the right sidebar text is surrounded with that anchor element. What we ultimately want to do is change this href attribute to actually point to this right sidebar.html document. So what I'm going to do in this movie is show you the different techniques to essentially point, in this case text, to different documents. So the first and most obvious way is to click this little folder icon. Once you click the folder icon, you'll have the ability to browse through your directories and find a particular HTML document. Now, hopefully, it will be in your local site folder, like ours is now. We want to come into HTML5 up, and inside of HTML5 up, there's a document called right sidebar.html. You want to go ahead and select that. You'll notice it's relative to the document. If you needed to change this, you can here, but ideally you would change the default behavior in the site definition dialog box as you want to stay consistent. So nevertheless, once you have this set up and you're happy, you can go ahead and click open. Once you click open, you'll notice that the link text field here populates with the name of that HTML document. So what you want to do is save the document and preview it in a web browser. I'll go ahead and preview it in Safari. If we now come over and click right sidebar, you'll notice it links to that right sidebar page. And a right sidebar is this area here. So that link worked. I'm going to go ahead and close out of the browser, return back into Dreamweaver. Let's go ahead and select left sidebar. We can also create a link by clicking this point to file icon. If you click and then drag it, you can drag it to the Files panel and place it on top of the document that you want to link it to. And as I hover over left sidebar.html, you'll notice that the text field, the link text field within the properties panel, is now populated with that file name. Once you let go of the mouse, you can go ahead and save the document again. I'm going to go ahead and preview this in Safari one more time. We can now come over to left sidebar and click it, and you'll notice we now have a sidebar here on the left-hand side because we're really rendering a different document, which is left sidebar.html. If you come over here and click home, you should return back to the index page. I'm going to go ahead and close the browser and return back into Dreamweaver. I'm going to select no sidebar. You have a couple different options here. You could always type in the name of the file, which is no-sidebar.html. Typically when you type, however, you do run the risk of typos, which will be problematic because the links won't work. But another way that you can create a hyperlink is to come over to the Insert menu. And under the Insert menu, you can choose Hyperlink. This is going to open up a dialog box. You'll notice that the text field is pre-populated with the text that you had selected within the document. For the link, you want to go ahead and click the folder icon and find the document you want to link to, which is nosIdebar.html, which is inside the HTML5 up directory. Go ahead and click Open. In terms of target, you do have this option in the Properties Inspector. You can choose blank, which will open up a new browser window. Some of these other options deal with frame sets, which really isn't something that you work with anymore. There's also some additional attributes that you can add, like a title, an access key, and a tab index, all of which are not important for this discussion right now. Let's go ahead and click OK. Once you click OK, you'll notice that the link text field is populated. You can save the document again, and you can preview it in your web browser. Once you preview it, if you click No Sidebar, you'll be brought to the nosIdebar.html page, which can be verified by looking at the address bar if you don't see a huge difference within the actual HTML document. So again, those are some of the basic ways that you can create hyperlinks inside of Dreamweaver. They're by no means the only ways, but they certainly are the most popular.